Fonwu. This is going to be over. Lions are going to win it. Lions are bringing the NFC North title back to Detroit.
All right. Well, hey, welcome to Rock Down Detroit Lions Friday night off the cuff. And I know I was supposed to take a day off, but I couldn't. So there was just too much going on today. And especially with this latest news of this Vikings trade. And it's got me a little warm. I'm just going to tell you right away, I'm not real happy about it. These are the kinds of moves that I do feel are well within Brad Holmes' grasp. And I feel like the Vikings are just on a tear right now. And I'll get into it in a little bit. We'll talk about all of the NFC North tonight. It's an NFC North roundup show. We're going to talk about everybody's free agency so far. Who's winning in March? Does it matter? Maybe, maybe not. Obviously, Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes say that they want to win in December. I'd prefer to win in January and February. But yes, you have to win in December to get there. Quite honestly, you have to win all season. We've seen what happened last year. The Lions were 9-3, and next thing you know, the wheels started to fall off a little bit, and it felt a little close there for a moment. So every move matters. Everything that the Lions, the Bears, the Vikings, the Packers, what we do first, what we do better than the other teams, that's what matters first in free agency. And it's how the season gets set up, right? Right now we're setting everything up to get to the draft. And once you get out of the draft, now you're set up for the season. Now people just got to play. They just got to come in and do their job and learn their role and buy into the Dan Campbell way. So let's talk about all of the NFC North tonight. And I'll do my best with questions in that. Try to answer some things. I can tell you that I'm not going to know absolutely everything that has happened. There's a lot of information, but I do have a lot of information in front of me to pull from too. So shout out to everybody in the chat. How's everybody doing tonight? Looks like Tracy's watching some live music somewhere at a local pub. I miss those nights, man. Yeah, it's still a bit cold here, but you have the doors open, listening to some music. I don't drink, very rarely do I. So I really don't frequent bars a whole lot. All right, so we got Tracy. We got Bobby Tarantino, Steve K, John Desage, Lone Wolf. I remember Tobin wrote, Braylon Dennis, Shadow Viper 619. Peter Charles Braley, James O'Brien, that's a new name. Welcome in, James. Colin Jessuper, that's a new name. I'm sure you guys have been in before, but when the chat goes crazy, I can't see everybody. We got J-Rod in the house. Tracy's moderating tonight. Bruce Morton's in the house. What's happening, everybody? Appreciate you guys joining me tonight. And let's talk about it, man. Let's have a little conversation here. Let me clear something up real quick too. My Jared Goff video, you guys know I don't clickbait. I don't do that crap. I literally thought it was a great title. Jared Goff getting his bag or gets his bag. I thought people read descriptions. You guys don't read descriptions. I'm not saying you guys personally, but I guess people don't read them. Like I put all of the information. It's all in there. Tells you what I'm going to talk about. And I try to do it every single time, especially when when it's important. So, all right, moving on here. So Minnesota Vikings, man, good Lord. They have added some ammo. They acquired the number 23 overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft with a trade with the Texans. And the Texans are another team that are going gangbusters right now. Like, I feel like there's a little collusion with this, and we'll talk about it. So the Vikings in Houston have agreed to a trade that nets Minnesota an additional 2024 first-round pick. And it was reported by Ian Rappaport and Tom Pelissero a few hours ago. And then, of course, Minnesota announced the trade shortly after that. So the deal was this. The Vikings acquired number 23 overall, which is right where I've been saying the Lions need to get north of. We need to get in front of 23, like, 20, 19, 18, somewhere in there. But 23 would have been good. So they get 23 and a 7th round pick, number 232. And the Texans got number 42 overall. So a very early 2nd round pick and a 6th round pick. And then a 2nd round pick, which would, let's just say it's number 45 in 2025. This blows my mind. Like I so me, I went and I did the calculation. Turn off this heater, man. I'm already getting warm. I told you I was warm. Here's the numbers. Let me share it with you guys. I don't know if you guys ever do this stuff, but there's some pretty unique calculators out there that does a pretty good job of what the valuation is of these things. And they're pretty accurate. Like really accurate. Let me pull it down so I can make it a little bit easier to see. I assume you guys can see that. Okay. So that would be the Vikings on the left, the Texans on the right. So Vikings get 23 and 232. They give up 42, 188. And what I'm speculating is pick 45, which would be middle of the 2nd round. That's assuming that they go 9 and 8 or something like that, or 8 and 9. But I don't think that's going to happen. It could be even a later round pick. So someone needs to be fired in Houston. They gave up 2,014 points and only received 1,310 back. This makes no sense to me. Like, who on earth would make this trade? So the Texans, what did they get? They moved up from the 7th round to the 6th round. They moved down from the 1st to the 2nd, and they gained a 2nd round pick for next year. That's it. Now they can package all this stuff and try to move up with whatever they have left. They can try to do that, like they did last year. But I got to tell you, this one stinks, man, to high heavens here, because let me just throw another number in here. Let me throw an early 3rd round pick in. Let's go 65. You're still not even close. They're a 2nd round pick away, I believe, from making this trade be somewhat even. I mean, it's still short. So 3 seconds and a 6th to move up into the 1st round from pick 42 is what I would expect, what I would have expected. And we're going to talk about some trade scenarios, because I was looking back at last year and I'm trying to figure out what is it going to cost the Lions to move up. And I'm basing it on what happened last year. So thoughts right away on this segment here. What do you guys think about this trade and how the Vikings were able to finagle their way up to having 2 1st round picks? Now they have number 11 and number 23. And they could even package those up now and other picks and move up and grab a quarterback probably in the top 5, if that's what they're trying to do. And let me know if the chat feels slow. So I put a different setting on so that we would have better video, but I guess it kind of delays the chat a little bit. Just something I'm learning. Yeah, Braylon, I see that, man. I guess people don't read descriptions anymore. You should especially read mine, because what I'm learning about YouTube is we only have so many words and so many characters. And the longer it is, like the worse the score is that we get. And when you got a bad score, it's unlikely that new people are going to see it. So we want good scores, not clickbait, good scores. So we have to utilize the best words we can to make it work. Let's see here. Tracy says, what happens to these teams that went out and went crazy in free agency in 1 or 2 seasons? they will end up like the Bills and have to release a bunch of people to make it under the numbers. It's very true. That's very true. Like the Bears, man, they're going to be in some trouble. Colin says Vikings can do all they want, but if they don't have a quarterback, they can only get so far. Defense can only carry you so far. With the example of Rex Grossman, and they lost Daniil Hunter. So, and we'll talk about who they pulled in, but they didn't bring in what they lost. Let's just put it that way. Between Van Ginkel and Greenard, they definitely didn't pull in enough. And having Sam Darnold, look, I'm not saying that Sam is crap, because he's not. The dude is probably one of the best throwers of the football. Like, the dude really spins it well, really well. Maybe doesn't make the best decisions, and that's what's going to get him in trouble against our defense is not making good decisions. Braylon says it feels sketchy. I don't like it. Lone Wolf says Vikings or Bears now for the top quarterback. See, that's what I'm wondering. I mean, obviously, I don't think that the Bears are going to back off number one. I think that they know that they need a quarterback because of this whole thing with Justin Fields. I mean, at this point, Justin Fields might be on the team and they might have a new quarterback. How weird would that be? Otherwise, they're just going to have to take, a fifth round pick for Justin and call it good. Yeah, slow mode is on, so it delays you by 10 seconds. J Mommy, the Vikings in 2 years are going to have severe budget problems. Yeah, and the Bears. Walt Marks, new name. Welcome in, Walt. I'm sure you've been here before, but I get to see all the names now when we slow it down a little bit. Sounds like someone in Minnesota knows where the bodies are buried. Oh, that's great. That's what I'm thinking. 1,000%, John Desage. We are still the team to beat in the North. We own the North right now until we don't. And then we just have to come back swinging, man. We really do. Still waiting to see what happens to Fields. Yeah, I think it's a mess in Chicago with this whole Fields thing. I really do. Lions have a bone to pick with Sam Darnold. Why am I not remembering this one? Cue me in there, Braylon. Tracy says the Bears field situation is it's a big snafu of sorts. So Braylon, I'll let you cue me in on that one. I can't remember what Sam did to us. I'm surprised that I can't, but let's see here. J-Rod says, hey, Will, I've noticed that now that free agency is opened and some signings made, the mocks are totally different. They are. Than before free agency opening. So there's a few reasons for that. And as I said, I mean, I told you guys, like the mocks that, people do a month ago prior to the combine are totally different than the mock after the combine. So mock 1.0 should really be, I don't know, some people start doing them back in December and January, but it should just be before the combine at some point. And then 2.0 should be after the combine. And then 3.0 is after free agency dies down for about a week, and all the big names are gone. And then 4.0, kind of comes out a little bit before the draft. And then if you're going to do more than that, your last one should be like the day before the draft, which is what I do. The day before the draft, we'll go live for like 4 hours and then another 4 or 5 hours the day of the draft. It's a long couple of days. Hey, what does it mean when it says message retracted? I don't know what that means. Are the bots like from YouTube catching something? Are you using naughty words, Braylon? I don't know what that means. And I don't even know if I can open it. I don't know what it is. All right. Well, I'll look that up another day. When he was a rookie, he torched us. I don't remember that game. I see. So Braylon, you got rid of your message. Okay. I got you. Yeah, I don't know. about that statement, Chris. They're saying that calling Allen old and washed just because he's on the Bears. Yeah, dude, we still got to watch out for Allen. Didn't he have like almost 1,300 yards last year? Dude is on fire. Like you can't count him out as long as he has a quarterback. If he doesn't have a quarterback, then he's in trouble. He might be old by football years, but he can still play, man. That guy can still play. All right, Panthers game. Gotcha. Okay. All right, so let me get into this now. Let's get into. I'll start. Who do you guys want to start with? Packers, Bears, or Vikings? Pick one. We'll throw the Lions in, as we go. J Mommy asked me earlier if I caught up on my sleep. Yeah, I got a whole 4 hours. I'm getting there. All right, so Bears it is. Oh, who voted first? Bears. All right, Bears and Packers. Yeah, they're all scumbags. All right, so the Bears, here we go. Here's what we got. A little bit of a breakdown here, the Bears. So one of the first moves, obviously, DeAndre Swift. They signed Swift to a 3-year, $24.5 million deal, which included 15.5 or 15.3 million guaranteed. And that's kind of a big deal, I guess, for DeAndre Swift. I don't know what they were thinking. I'm glad that they brought in DeAndre Swift because he's hot trash and he always gets hurt. So what does it mean? The first deal of Chicago really kind of struck when the window opened. They obviously had their sights set on bringing in a running back. And I think part of the reason for this is because they're expecting to move Justin Fields, who is a very big part of their run game. And if you do not have Fields anymore, and they bring in a pocket passer, and it's not somebody that has that dual threat energy like Justin does, then they need a running back. So they brought in somebody that they're familiar with, and you would have thought that by being familiar with Swift, you would have known that what happened with Philly was a complete fluke. It will not happen again. And if it does, well, I'll eat crow. But until I see DeAndre Swift really last an entire season and have another season like he did in Philly, it'll be too soon. I don't think it'll happen. Now he ranked just outside of the top 10 in yards per carry last year at 4.6. I mean, he was behind a pretty darn good offensive line. He set a career high in rushing attempts, 229. I mean, it's the most he's ever carried the rock in all of his seasons as a pro. He does have a new offensive coordinator in Chicago now, Shane Waldron, who does lean heavily on at least a one-back system. So he's not interested in the two-back system. He wants a one-back system. We'll see how they divvy up the responsibilities, throughout Swift or Khalil Herbert, Rashawn Johnson. But that's a pretty good backfield. So, I mean, they added Swift who can catch the rock out of the backfield. And we know he is a little bit shifty when he's catching passes. And that's something that we're going to have to deal with. Running the ball, I'm not worried. Catching the ball out of the backfield, that's where Swift, I believe, does his best damage. I think that, quite honestly, Brian Branch is going to have fun with Swift. I think that's the guy that's going to be in charge, and Jack Campbell, of making sure that Swift doesn't do anything. Swift definitely overpaid. So the second move, obviously they re-signed Jalen Johnson, so they kept a top-tier corner. Now, Amon-Ra St. Brown had pretty good games in both Bear games, I believe. I know one of them was better than the other, obviously. Let me look. I forgot to pull up his stats. So against the Bears in the first game, where is it? There it is. He had 77 yards, 11 targets, 8 catches, 1 TD. Pretty pretty average game for him, below average game, honestly. The second game, not so great. I don't know if he got injured in this game. I can't remember what happened. I don't know if he was banged up, but he only had 21 yards. I think that was the game that Sam Laporta kind of really broke out a little bit. But we lost that game. We got our asses handed to us. So Jalen Johnson is a huge signing for the Bears. You know, to have him back solidifies a big component of their defense. So offense, defense, they nailed two of them right away, but they're going to find out that Swift is not the answer. Then they bring in a quarterback, Brett Ripien. Like, no worries about this dude. I mean, backup camp guy, nothing happening here. They did bring in a new offensive tackle, Matt Pryor. This is just a depth signing. You know, obviously, depth is critical. We know that. We've been through 30 different offensive line formations in the last 3 years, and having to shuffle, the offensive line around quite a bit. You learn how important it is to have a second guy that is pretty darn good, and we haven't had that in a while. Graham Glasgow obviously was our best, and Chicago didn't have that. So they're just bringing this guy in for depth right now. But they did bring in Gerald Everett, tight end, another offensive signing. So that's 3 offensive signings in a row. Running back, offensive tackle, and then tight end. Now, let's see here. When their new offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron, in his final 2 seasons at Seattle, he used a multiple tight end formation system at the 4th highest rate in the NFL per ESPN. And I think that this will pair, Cole Kmet up with Everett in that formation, right? In that system that he utilizes, which we're just going to have to be prepared for. I mean, I would think that Aaron Glenn is already seeing what's going on here. If they're going to do a multiple formation, jumbo formations, with the tight ends, and then you have DeAndre Swift in the back, they're probably going to try to get Swift out of the backfield over the middle. And if they do that with any regularity, they could be successful for them. So that's where I'm hoping that we're going to strengthen that part of the defense. We brought in Jack Campbell, we brought in Brian Branch, and now we brought in this slot guy, Amik Robertson, who's going to have to be very good at what he does in protecting the middle of the field, and he's going up against big tight ends, which he's done in the past, but he's only 5'9". So he really needs to be there to slow the play down so that the rest of the guys can clean it up. I'm not worried about Jack Campbell at all, or Alex Anzalone, on the tight end. Everett was tied for the Chargers team lead with an average of 5.3 yards after the catch. So he's a yak monster. And let's see, he had 275 yards of yak last season of his 411 receiving yards on the season. So they're getting better. They added a tight end. I mean, Cole Kmet was an issue for us. And now they're adding another guy that's, he's a little bit older, but he's a proven tight end. But then they went ahead and added Kevin Byard, safety, on defense to match up with Jalen Johnson. And this is where things started to turn for me. Like, I was really getting antsy because the Bears really took advantage of a deep safety group. I mean, there was a ton of safeties that hit the market. I'm surprised that we still haven't gone out to find one. But they lost Eddie Jackson, who was a 2-time All-Pro. They lost Eddie Jackson in 2-time All-Pro Kevin Byard. So they completely upgraded their back end of their defense, which is going to, limit Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jahmyr Gibbs, he didn't do a whole lot in the pass game. We expected more. But what are we going to do to counter this? That's the question. We need a field stretcher. We either need JMO to hit the ground running, or we need another field stretcher in this draft. So if you're going to combat, what they do in free agency in March to win in December, we have to find guys that can go in and beat these guys. and you've got a 2-time All-Pro, and you got probably the best corner in the league in the back end of this defense for the Bears. Then they added another safety, Jonathan Owens. And he's going to fit in probably as their third safety behind Jaquan Brisker and Bayard. So a big-time depth signing. He's somebody that, he'll obviously get some playing time. But this isn't somebody that's coming in to be a starter. Nothing really significant. And then they added another linebacker. I'm not even going to try to say his last name, but Amin O. Again, this is just a depth signing. Then they went back to offense, and they grabbed a center, Coleman Shelton, who agreed to a 1-year deal. Shelton is the second center that the Bears have added this offseason. So I find that interesting. Now he's projecting as the starter over Ryan Bates, at least until we see, what Chicago is going to do if they're going to add another player in the draft. I guess the Bears had sent, according to this information, it says the team sent a strong contingent to Oregon's Pro Day on Tuesday. I don't know why they use the word contingent. Just say scout. They just sent a really good scout to go look at Jackson Powers Johnson. So they're looking at upgrading their offensive line, working on the trenches in the draft. And then, of course, they added a long snapper. No big deal there. So as it sits right now, Bears got better. Like they got a lot better. They added a tight end that could hurt us. They re-signed their number one cornerback. They added a top-tier 2-time All-Pro safety. And they added a running back that does have the ability to have good games out of the backfield catching passes. So now I'll turn it over to the chat. What do you guys think about the Bears and how they have gone about their free agency so far? Yes, and I didn't even get into draft picks. That's a good point. Guns Films says, and they have 2 number 1s on top of that. So they have the ability to add a top tier quarterback, as well as a center to go along with that quarterback, or they could add somebody else. But at this point, they also added. I don't know why it's not in here, but they added Allen. Right? Or do I got that wrong? Hold on. Vikings. Yeah, they added Allen for a 4th-round pick. So they only gave up a 4th-round pick for Allen. So they've got a good wide receiver, a good safety, got their all-pro cornerback, or will be an all-pro corner, and DeAndre Swift. I think it's a hell of a free agency. A lot of work being done. Nick Benedict, what are your thoughts on the Vikings getting another first rounder? I started it off with this. We're going to go to the Packers next. Well, then we'll go to the Vikings, and then we'll go to the Lions. I'm going to try to keep it in line so that we can kind of focus on one team instead of bouncing around. But we're doing Bears now, then Packers, then we'll do Vikings, and then we'll finish with the Lions. So keep that question in mind and ask it again. Yeah, Allen did torch us last year, 1,000%. We had difficulty with Allen. That's why they came back in the second half of that game. Sounds like the Wizard of Oz. I don't know what that means. Let's see here. Trying to find some good questions in here. Statements. We'll just keep it at the bottom here. So deep. The Bears got Keenan Allen. Yes. could potentially have 9, 11, and 23 picks in the draft. I think they need to go Harrison. You talking about the Bears? I'll be livid if the Bears trade the top pick to the Vikings. I'll be livid. Because what you're saying there is number 23, which the Vikings own now. Is that what you're talking about? The Bears trading back, trading out to the Vikings? Don Bird, to your point there, the NFC North could be the best division in football. I think it has a great chance. I think the NFC North is coming back. I think it's going to be a very strong competition this year. I really do. With the way that all four of these teams, the way that the Lions finished was great. I think we had a pretty slow free agency. Brad nailed it yesterday by adding DJ Reader. That was the way to save free agency for us, by adding somebody that, as long as he's healthy, will help this team. And when you look across the board, just talking about the Bears here, and now I'm going to move on to the Packers. They got better in a hurry, like instantly better. They could fail on all their draft picks and they're better. They just need a quarterback. Or do they? They have Justin Fields still. So it's not like they really need a quarterback. They could just be fishing and shopping just to be fishing and shopping, just to see what they could get. That's what fishing's all about. See what you can get. That's why they don't call it catching. So, all right, Packers up next. I really feel like the Lions are being targeted. Let me go conspiracy here for a minute. And I'm going to go conspiracy just for a second, and then I was going to talk about this about the Vikings. So let me just say it now. With the way that this whole trade just went down with the Texans and the Vikings, to tell me that's not collusion. So someone's really got to make up my mind for me, because I just don't see how you left a pick on the table in a big pick. Moving all the way, you traded 23 and 232 for a mid-round second pick this year and next year, and a 6th round pick. You are 700 points difference in trade value. You lost 35% of the value of your pick. The Texans. That sounds like collusion to me. Like nobody wants the Lions to win. So here, let me help you out. Let me give you some picks. Just give us something back. The NFL is investigating Kirk Cousins because he talked to a trainer. Like, how on earth could that even be, illegal tampering or whatever you want to call it? I don't get it. And didn't he say that at the press conference where he said he spoke to him the day before? Like, you're not allowed to talk to trainers? It's not like that's the dude that's paying you. That's not the dude that's hiring you. That's the dude that's rubbing your muscles down. It just doesn't make any sense. If you don't want illegal tampering, then you just need to remove all of it. Like, just let people talk. Let them do what they want. Let them play Madden every day. Assemble whatever they want to assemble. Yeah, it is sneaky to me, Trace. It is. And the Texans just got really, really, really good. Like, really good. Nick Benedict. Wow, that's a big word there. Quid pro quo for Daniil Hunter. The Texans get investigated too? Did I miss that? I don't know. I feel like we're getting screwed with. Maybe not, but that's the fun part of, conspiracy a little bit is, you just have fun with it, I guess, until it comes out to be true. So the Packers, last season, we watched Jordan Love flail around like a little kid in week 4, got the absolute snot kicked out of him. And by the end of the season, I'll be damned if he wasn't one of the best quarterbacks in the league at that moment. And he was playing really well. I do not expect anything less from him moving forward. I think that he's going to be just fine. Where last year I thought he was going to be hot trash after watching the way that he started the season, something clicked. He started to get it right. I think that the game started to finally slow down for him, and he got it right. And I give credit where credit is due. And Jordan Love really turned his season around big time. So at this point, I was expecting the Packers to be the second best team in the NFC North. And I still think that they will be. But then they went ahead and added Josh Jacobs. They released Aaron Jones, who didn't do squat last year. Had a pretty tough season. Where did he go? He went to the Vikings of all places. So we still have to see Aaron Jones. And they pick up Josh Jacobs, who's a hell of a running back. What are the Packers getting? What are they getting in a Josh Jacobs? They're getting a downhill runner. They're getting a guy that can take a punishment, a guy that can carry the rock all game long. He has had some injury issues over the years, but he's a ground and pound it kind of guy. He did miss 6 games last year to injury, I think, and dealt with injuries, kind of all throughout 2023. I think in 2022. He did have a quad injury at one point. Let's see here. The last season that, it's not surprising that the last season was the least productive for Jacobs. Of 5 NFL seasons, he had 805 yards, and that was the least productive. The question is he going to have an offensive line behind him or in front of him? Is he going to be able to do what he's done in the past with this offensive line of the Packers? That's the biggest knock on the Packers right now. Nick Benedict, who are you talking about? Aaron Jones or Josh Jacobs? Josh didn't have a good season last year. And I don't even know when he was with Raiders last year, right? I don't know what he did. I doubt he did anything. So he had 61 yards, 1 touchdown. Only caught 2 balls for 27 yards, 13 and a half yards apiece. So he was kept under 80 yards or under 90 yards all purpose. And, that was one of the better games that we faced from a running back the entire season. There's only 1, 2, 3. There's only 7 running backs, including him, that were over 60 yards on the season or 60 yards in the game. So he was a top 6 running back that we faced last year. Excuse me. But then they doubled down, man. They added A.J. Dillon right after that. Now, I'm not extremely worried about Dillon. Coming back to the Packers, he was kind of their bread and butter there for a minute, and then Jones came back, and it was kind of a mess. So I think that they like Dillon better, but you're pairing up Jones, you're pairing up Dillon with Jacobs, and then they're going to have a nice little 1-2 punch. Taking up carries, they're splitting carries, they're running a 2-back system, in Green Bay. And even though it's not a long-term commitment from the Packers, I do believe that it's going to pose an issue for any team that goes up against them because they're going to have fresh, powerful legs behind the line of scrimmage. And that's what we did to teams last year. We had, a power back in Demo, even though he's kind of smaller. He's still a guy that runs through the tackles and he gets his best work done between the tackles. And then you add somebody like Jahmyr Gibbs, who's an outside zone, can run through the tackles, but outside zone kind of guy, a little bit shifty, more speed. You're going to get that from Josh Jacobs, but he's also a power runner. He has a little bit of both. Then they do this. Then they add safety Xavier McKinney, the guy that I thought that would have been a perfect fit for our team to come in and step in and just be that lockdown safety, somebody that could, take over for Kirby Joseph, who did not have the greatest of seasons last year, grading wise. He had a couple of great games, but he did not have a good season. And we could have used another vet with the, ex parte of CJ Gardner-Johnson. And I feel like Brad Holmes is going to do what he's been doing, and he's going to probably find another guy throughout the draft to add to this DB room, and it could be a safety. And utilize the veteran leadership that he has with Kirby Joseph and Ifeatu Melifonwu, entering third and fourth seasons, and Brian Branch entering his second season. And now you add another one, and then it fits right into that roster roulette that I always speak of. You'll have a guy on fourth year, third year, second year, and first year. So now you're rotating him in every other year. You don't really have to mess with that position a whole lot. You either got to re-sign your guy, every second, maybe third year, or draft a brand new guy every second or third year. So that's how it's lining up for Brad Holmes. He's playing roster roulette, and that's just a term that I made up. I have no idea what he calls it. So with these three positions, the Packers have solidified. They got Keeson Nixon too, cornerback and a kick returner. And he's an explosive kick returner. So special teams guy. He's not really, anything more than that, I don't believe. He is the reigning two-time All-Pro returner. And now he's going to get a chance for 3 in a row with the same team. So they re-signed Nixon. They added Josh Jacobs to the backfield. They re-signed Dylan. Then they went out and added Xavier McKinney to the backfield. To the DB room. And then they added Corey Ballantyne, another cornerback. Again, re-signing and staying with the Packers for the 2024 season. So they're going to have good depth. Tyler Davis, tight end. They re-signed. He's not really anybody. He's a depth guy. Christian Welch, another re-signing for the Packers. And that's all I see right now, unless I'm missing something. Let's see here. I see you guys talking about Reader in here. Yeah, I think the Reader is going to be a great mentor for Broderick. I do. And I think that, him working along, with a Lee McNeil too is going to be a great foundation for our defensive line. We're definitely going to have a good defensive line. So right now, if you were to rank the Bears or the Packers, who had the better offseason so far? And for me, it's the Bears so far. The Bears have had the better offseason. The Packers just they got laterally better. They added a bunch of their guys, and they signed somebody for the backfield. Pick wise, Packers have Oh, let's see. They have first round number 25, second round number 41, second round number 58, third round 88, third round 91. So they have 5 picks inside the top 100, inside the top 91. That's insane. That's an insane haul right there. And I believe, the second round pick came from the Jets for Aaron Rodgers. And they got 3 compensatory picks. They have 11 draft picks overall. So I expect the Packers to be movers and shakers in this draft. They're going to be making deals, probably moving up, trying to select better players. But the fact that they have 5 picks inside the top 91, this team is about to get really good in a hurry. And I think that could be my biggest gripe with Brad Holmes is when we had the draft capital, the last 2 drafts, and we were moving and shaking. We were making things happen. And I wouldn't do anything different, with the last 2 drafts. I think that, what we got in return far exceeded my expectations. But my only gripe would have been, man, dude, you had the draft capital. Like, you had it. You could have moved us up and probably had 5 picks in the top 70 last year or 80. He could have done it. And I think that's my only thing is I get a little bit stingy with draft picks. Like, when I play this mythical game here, I would much rather get in and get my guys too and get out. Like, if there's guys that I know that could help the team or feel like they could help the team, and if I had all the resources that they had where I could have all the information that they do, I would much rather sell out, a little bit from each of my future drafts and move way up into a draft that I know is going to help me. And I felt like last year he should have done that instead of the Broderick Martin pick, which I think Broderick, he's got to do something this year to prove to us that, it wasn't a bad pick. And even if it was, we still got 4 impact players out of the draft. I mean, how much more do you want? You're only allotted 7 picks every year. And if you got 4 really good picks out of the draft, I think you hit a home run. But 3/5 in a, you could have traded that and your whatever else we traded with it and moved up and grabbed somebody else without a doubt. So, yeah, no one's going to let Brad fleece them this year. There's no way. Brad got over on the Packers so hard last year. It was hilarious. I still see that Tom Grossi video, man. I still see it every once in a while. And it just, I crack up. I watched it that night when, I think it was that night when it aired, how impactful of a pick that really was that we took. I thought it was an incredible move. So Packers also re-signed, like I said, Tyler Davis and Christian Welch, 2 of their previous guys. So right now the Bears have the better offseason than the Packers, in my opinion. But now we'll talk about the Vikings. And the Vikings, man, they are on a tear. And I realize they don't have a quarterback right now, but they're going to have a quarterback soon. And it just might come from this draft. But I would say the team to watch right now, depending on what happens with the Bears quarterback situation. If they keep Justin Fields in play, I think the Bears are going to have a good season. If they don't and they get a rookie, I think we're going to be fine. I don't see any of the rookies from this draft doing what CJ Stroud did last year. That is a once every 3, 4, 5 drafts kind of deal. That a quarterback will have that great of a season as a rookie. Happens very rare. I've done the stat research all the way back to 2016. He is the 3rd quarterback drafted in the first round that has had that good of a season. The 3rd one. So the numbers speak for itself. 7 drafts, only 3 quarterbacks, 3 taken in every first round of the draft. So you're probably talking, 30 quarterback, maybe 25 quarterbacks. Only 3 of them have had decent seasons. So, yeah, Benito went back to the Dolphins yesterday, yeah. And that's another good point. So, Bobby, the developing thing, I'm not big on developing guys unless it's after the 3rd round. I think you can find guys that you don't necessarily have to develop, in the top 3 rounds. So Vikings on a tear right now. They have the 11th and the 23rd in the first round, and then they drop all the way to 108th in the, well, I guess that would be the 3rd round, late 3rd round. No, 4th round. Sorry. And it looks like they have 2 in the 4th. They got a 4th from us. Did we trade them a 4th during the TJ Hawkinson trade? We must have. And then they go 157, 167, 177, and 230 and 232. So they have 2 high draft picks, and then they have plenty of draft capital to be able to move up. All right, so let's talk Vikings. Aaron Jones. Obviously, we know Aaron Jones well. Did not have the greatest of seasons last year, but the Vikings added Aaron Jones after he was released. I'm not really going to talk much about him, but he's a damn good back when he's healthy. The question is he going to be healthy? They also added Sam Darnold. And look, I don't care what people say about Sam Darnold because he's honestly one of the best spinners of the ball that I've ever watched. He's got great arm mechanics, solid velocity on the ball. He can really pick apart a defense if he has time. That's going to be his question. Is he going to have time? Makes bad decisions, and I think that's going to be his downfall this year. Is he going to be able to make quick enough decisions when, hopefully Aaron Glenn is all out blitzing him because he can't handle the blitz. So we'll see. We'll see what the Lions decide to do with this brand new defense. But they've got to get after a guy like Sam Darnold because if he has any time at all, he can find Jefferson quite easily, and he can toss it, and he'll toss it 70 yards all day long. So Vikings still have a quarterback issue. I'm expecting them to try to add a quarterback. I mean, there should be one available at pick 11. And I can't remember where the Giants or the Patriots pick right now, but I'm expecting the Giants and or the Patriots to probably take J.J. McCarthy or Drake May if Drake May slips. But that's what I'm expecting right now. But they did add on the defensive side of the ball. They added Jonathan Greenard, which a lot of Lions fans, were hoping that we would have a shot at. This guy, he's a darn good linebacker, like really good linebacker. He is going to be the replacement for Danielle Hunter. I don't think it's a 1-for-1, obviously, but I do believe that Greenard is still going to have a great season. Last year, he had a career high 12.5 sacks and a 22.4% pass rush win rate, which ranked higher than Hunter's 13.5%. He does have the size, 265 pounds. So he will fit well into Brian Flores, multi-positional scheme there and the drop 8 scheme that the Vikings were running last year. A very difficult scheme to maneuver through. And I think we did well. But now we got to do it again because they're going to be in that same scheme now for 2 seasons. So Greenard's going to be a problem. Now, it does mention the durability is a concern for Greenard. He has never played a full NFL season in his career, and he has missed nearly half of 2022 because of a calf injury. And last season, an ankle injury cost him 2 games. So he does have some injury issues. Now, the next guy, Andrew Van Ginkel, is kind of a wild card. He's only had one really good season so far. And, the Vikings picking him up and adding him obviously must feel comfortable that what he was able to do, at Minnesota, or I'm sorry, at Miami, it was not just a one-trick, pony, that this guy is going to be able to come back in 2024 and be able to put it back together on the field and have a similar season to what he just had. I mean, he had career highs in just about everything that he did last season. He set a career high with six sacks in 2023. He ranked number 20 in the NFL in pass rush win rate with 17.9%. And again, utilizing this drop 8 coverage that Minnesota uses, they're going to utilize Van Ginkel's speed on the outside of that zone technique. And I think that's where you're going to find Andrew Van Ginkel paired up a lot with the Sam Laporta. The question is going to be, his injury concerns. He had suffered a foot injury in 2023 in the regular season finale and was placed on injured reserve prior to the Dolphins wildcard playoff game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, those things heal, and he should come back, from it just fine. But for whatever reason, the Vikings are just like the Lions, that they have a knack for acquiring players who have injury history. Van Ginkel got paid, so obviously the Minnesota Vikings believe in him. He racked in a 2-year, $20 million deal. And look, I expect him to be a headache. I really do. This guy's a thumper. But again, we're going to have to see, was last year a fluke or was it not? So right off the get-go, Minnesota has added 2 really solid linebackers to try to make up for what they lost in Danielle Hunter. They also added another linebacker, Blake Cashman. Obviously, this is a depth signing. Last season, he became a full-time starter in his 5th season in the NFL. He was called a tackling machine for the Texans. Obviously, the Texans had a pretty solid defense last year, had a really good season. And he also excelled in coverage. So they immediately upgraded everything that they needed to try to take the place of Danielle Hunter being gone. They also drafted Ivan Pace Jr. last year as an inside linebacker. So the Vikings are set, man. The middle of their defense is set, and I think that they realized, Sam Laporta is going to cause a lot of problems. And then they wanted to do something to get quicker, have more speed on the outside, as well as cover the inside zone and everything that's intermediate and over the middle of the field. And they've done that with these linebackers. Then they also decided to come back to terms on Jonathan Bullard, defensive tackle, 1-year deal. He played 655 snaps for the Vikings last season. And, he's a run stopper. He's someone that was in an expanded role last season. Dean Lowry suffered a season-ending pectoral injury in week 9, and the Vikings released him shortly after that. But Bullard was then put into his prominent role at the position at interior defender, and he had a pretty good season. They also added free agent Jerry Tillery, defensive tackle, former Raider, on a 1-year deal. And this is someone I don't know a whole lot about. But according to ESPN, there's very little risk to this signing. Tillery is now with his 3rd organization, though. So there's a reason why he's kind of getting shopped around. The Chargers parted ways with him before his rookie contract was completed. And then he spent parts of the last 2 seasons with the Raiders. So no one should really have any illusions about the potential for an immediate, impactor or significant impact on the field. And let's see, the Vikings also re-signed Brandon Powell, wide receiver Trent Sherfield, offensive tackle David Quesenberry, and then they also locked up Blake Brandel, their offensive guard, who was a restricted free agent, and re-signed Johnny Munt, tight end. And they've got 2 first-round picks now. So, in my opinion, I think that the Vikings are getting better in a hurry. And I think it's going to be a problem for the Lions if we don't do something to, again, we have to pivot from this. We have to figure out how we can get better. What is our competition? Because the NFC North that's the only teams that we really need to focus on first. I mean, overall record is everything, right? Overall record is the first thing. But you have to beat your division. You have to win your division games. With all the tiebreakers and all the scenarios last year that we were doing and all the videos that we were updating last year because of all the scenarios that there were, that's why winning your division games are so important. So in my opinion, I would say that Brad Holmes is probably going to want to attack the division first, how to get better over the division and lock that up and wrap that up, as opposed to anything else. And then, utilize the players that you're bringing in to take on the rest of the league, which, changes for you every other year. So you're not playing the same teams every single year. All right. So what do we got going on here in the chat? We got something about Vikings are moving up past the Giants to get McCarthy. That would be interesting. So there's been some talk about McCarthy today. And that's why I think, there's been some movement. Let me pull that up since you guys are talking about it with the Vikings. Here it is right here. This is what I read earlier. It was forecasted that the Denver Broncos were going to trade with the Chicago Bears to move up the board to take J.J. McCarthy. Right now, that is the play, that the Broncos are going to try to trade up with the Bears at number 9 to grab J.J. McCarthy. Now, J.J. could go earlier. We don't know. He may drop. We don't know. But right now, there's a couple of quarterback needy teams. I mean, you look at what happened with Pittsburgh. I mean, Kenny Pickett got 2 seasons and was let go or traded or whatever happened today. I think he was traded for like a 5th round pick, which is what the value of Justin Fields is now. So there was no loyalty, no love lost between Pittsburgh and Kenny Pickett. They are starting Russell Wilson. And Denver is obviously, or Pittsburgh is obviously looking to do something in this draft to find a quarterback of the future because it's not Russell Wilson. Yeah, I saw that too. Jimmy G to the Rams, obviously a depth signing. Big time depth signing. J-Rod, what's this about Sue and Donald? Man, wouldn't that be a wrecking crew? Oh man, it would have been nice to have when they were both in their prime. I still can't believe that Aaron Donald retired. And I doubt that he comes back. He was talking about retiring 3 seasons ago. I doubt that he comes back, and maybe he does. Maybe he takes, the majority of the season off, and then he comes back, like every other older player does, just to go win a ring. We'll see. We'll see about that. So right now we've spoken about the Packers, the Bears, the Vikings. Look, I mean, every single one of these teams is getting better through free agency, but my biggest question is, out of these 3 now, who has had the best free agency so far? And yes, winning in March doesn't matter. I get that. But winning in March sets up December. It sets up January. And the moves that they make now will help them in the draft and to figure out who they need to pick. C Klaus 2-1. What's my all-time D line? I don't know. I'd have to get back to you on that one. I really would. I mean, I'll tell you right now, Reggie White's in there. JJ Watt's in there. Prime and Ndamukong Suh would probably be in there. Let's see. We're not just talking Lions, right? We're talking everybody? Or just Lions? Oh, my God. Oh, Bucky. I like that when he says, I was under the impression that most tendon and ligament injuries occurred due to Kirby Joseph. Wow. That's funny. Who's left for free agents? There's quite a few left. There's not really any big time top tier names, but there's quite a few second tier guys that are still available. I can pull up the list in a minute. Let me just roll through the Lions real quick, but give me your vote real quick here. I'll put a poll up. We'll just do it that way. Oh my God, how come I can't make a poll that has more than... Oh, I can add an option. All right, so the question is going to be, and no, I'm not using caps or anything. I'm just writing it in. Who's had the best free agency so far? And I'm going to remove the Lions. I just want to know between the Vikings, the Bears, and the Packers what you guys are thinking right now. Based on all the names that I've given you, the draft picks that they have. It's starting to get tight in the North. All right, so far 69%, 67% think the Bears. My vote is the Bears for sure, until the Vikings did what they did just a little bit ago. So I'm all in on the Vikings right now. I think they've had an excellent free agency, even though that they don't really have a quarterback. Here's what I will caution everybody with, and you guys already know this. Do you remember Kurt Warner? Do you remember Trent Dilfer? Do you remember Nick Foles? The guys that had no business winning Super Bowls, bagging groceries to a Super Bowl. Trent Dilfer, truly was barely a game manager. Somebody that you talk about game managers. He had no business in a Super Bowl. So I have all the faith in the world that as long as you can manage the game and do what you're told and get the ball out, not make mistakes, it's the other 21 guys on the field other than you that are going to help you win that game. So I'm not worried about Sam Darnold. I'm more worried about these 2 first-round picks for the Bears and for the Vikings right now. All right, so let's talk Lions while that's up there. So we know that yesterday DJ Reader was brought into town. NFL free agency was off and running for a couple of days. And, with all the analysis that was coming out left and right, all the updates coming out left and right, Brad Holmes was chilling at home. I don't know, in his cigar room, smoking a cigar, not sure what he was doing, but he wasn't doing a whole lot. We brought in Carlton Davis. who has missed 23% of the eligible regular season games that he's been a part of. He won a Super Bowl in 2020 with Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucks. We brought in Amik Robertson from the Raiders, who is an undersized slot corner who has played bigger than his size. And I will give him that. And I do think that the exercise that we did yesterday proved to us that the Detroit Lions did get better. And I'll throw that up on the screen again, too. The Lions also brought in, come on now, open up. Where is Barnes? I don't understand where Barnes went on my list. All right. So the exercise that we did yesterday showed us that the Lions at least did get better. So left corner, we upgraded Jacobs for Carlton Davis. Now, Davis is supposed to be a number one lockdown corner. He is supposed to be a number one. So whether Cam Sutton or Davis plays left or right or whatever, if one travels, whatever, doesn't matter. I think now that, you have two number ones, they'll figure it out. And I think it's going to be a much easier time for these corners to be able to handle the better wide receivers. We have a major upgrade with CJ Gardner-Johnson, I think, with Brian Branch. If Brian Branch slides back into CJ Gardner's position from last year, Brian did beat CJ out. That's why Brian stayed in the slot. We brought in Amik Robertson down here, number 21. More than an 11-point upgrade over Dorsey or Chase Lucas. Whoever else you want to put in that position. Kindle Vildor, absolutely an upgrade. Now, Kindle Vildor obviously was also on the left side when Jerry Jacobs was removed out of the game and benched. And Davis is a big upgrade over Kindle Vildor too. Adding DJ Reader, you're talking a 45-point upgrade there at right defensive tackle. And Marcus Davenport, I'm not so sure on him yet. I think that he has good experience. He has history. It sounds like he's a good dude. I think that, utilizing the players that we have across the board, his play will be elevated because he's on a much better defensive line than what he was on last year. When you look at our backups, you've got James Houston on the right side. You've got Kaminsky. You got Broderick Martin there as the tackle. Levi Onwuzurike behind Aleem McNeil. So we still have some really solid depth that's behind us on this defense. Lions are also bringing in, what's his name? Tavian, I think. I think he's coming in today or tomorrow, which is another cornerback. Lions are looking to continue to upgrade the cornerback room so that they can enter this draft, with the ability to do what they want and not get pigeonholed into just taking, corners early. But overall, DJ Reader, comes to this team. I'm going to get this off the screen here. DJ Reader comes to this team injured, and we don't know, is he going to be able to return to his form? He's a run stuffer. He's not necessarily a pass rushing defensive tackle that I was looking for. I was hoping to have a pass rushing defensive tackle, but maybe at this point, Aaron Glenn is going to utilize a little bit different defense. So, last year we weren't masking as well. We weren't hiding a lot of things as well. I think that we were kind of wide open at times. But this year, you might see where we utilize the linebackers more as opposed to doing what we were doing last year. And I think that's a big benefit to be able to kind of install a little bit different defense every single season or a little bit different version of the defense. And now that we have a really good core of linebackers, we might see more linebacker blitzes as opposed to, always sending the defensive line. The biggest thing about this is exactly what Davenport said in his press conference, and that it's not always about me. It's not always about me just, trying to get to the quarterback. sometimes I just have to, I think he said, I just have to play a role. That's big, because if he knows that and he understands that the game is bigger than him, then that lends to unselfishness. And when you're unselfish, great things happen for a defense because they start working together. So that component of this and the signings and the guys that we've brought in, that's, I think, a big key element to all of this working. Dom the Bandit, Chase Young was already re-signed by somebody else, so he's off the board. Why didn't the Lions attempt to trade Jonah? They would have had to last year. He was a free agent, so they could have tagged him and tried to trade him. Maybe they could have got something for him, but then again, they could have been stuck with a tag and a player that they obviously were okay letting go. We did bring Khalil Dorsey back today. We also brought back Scott Daly today. So the Lions did make a few moves today. 100%, Braylon. AG has zero excuses so far this year. If you believe that the defense is upgraded, he has zero excuses. If you do not believe the defense is upgraded, then you can't pin it on AG. That was the biggest thing from last season is, okay, didn't have the right personnel, didn't have enough personnel, didn't have experienced personnel, and didn't have the right guys. So you can't blame him for all of it. Maybe Dre Bly not working out in year one, and John Scott obviously not working out after a couple of seasons. I think he was there for 2 seasons. There's a big reason why our defensive line fell off the face of the earth between John Scott and Todd Wash. And there's a big reason why our cornerbacks have not been that great between Dre Bly and Aubrey Pleasant. There's some disconnect here. And that's either Aaron Glenn needs to take over that position a little bit harder and really instill what he wants done at the cornerback position, or he needs to let his coaches coach and get him, you've got to be able to trust these guys. It's not like you can install these guys right away and think that everything is just going to work day one. Here's what I do like. Brad Holmes scrapped just about the entire D-back room. He kept, who did he keep? He kept Iffy, Kirby, Brian Branch, Cam Sutton, and Gilmore. That's it. So the guys that had pretty decent seasons, he kept. Everybody else he scrapped. And now you got a new coach, and you got a new defensive line coach, and you've added 2 new defensive line players. And you got 2 guys with Aleem McNeil and Aiden Hutchinson they're chameleons, man. They blend. They work. So I think that we're going to see some improvements just because of the personnel changes. And what I mean by that is the coaching changes. Now the on-field personnel changes. They've got to make it to the field, and then they've got to do their role. Mosley we brought back, but he didn't really play for us last year, so he was a non-factor. So DJ Reader, I think, he's a big component to this defense taking the next step forward. If he can stay on the field, we're going to have a much better defensive front. Bringing back Graham Glasgow, obviously super important. Had to bring somebody in that understands the offensive line, has relationships with the offensive line, fits well with the offensive line, can play 3 positions, if not 4 on the offensive line. And now you've locked him up for 3 seasons. So that gives us a little bit of flexibility as to when we really need to grab another top tier guard. And I think that is a big time signing. Zonovan Knight is depth, camp competition. I've already spoken about Marcus Davenport and Amik Robertson. Amik, look, I think he plays bigger than what he is. I think he's proven himself in the NFL that he can match up against some of the bigger bodies, even the tight ends. And I think he'll be just fine. Dan Skipper, obviously another depth guy, swing tackle, foundational piece, locker room guy, core piece. I mean, he's part of it. He is, what grit is to Detroit right now. Having Khalil Dorsey come back. Like I said, Khalil was someone that was supposed to be let go and hit free agency and come back on a cheap deal. And that's exactly what's going on right now. So he's come back in the second day of free agency, what's going to be more than likely the minimum deal that you can give Khalil Dorsey. Long snapper Scott Daly. Look, I think that this was a no-brainer. Long snappers are not a dime a dozen. But my only question is, at what point are we going to have our regular center or another depth guy, learn how to be a long snapper? It's such a wasted position like fullback to me. Like you need to just draft an extra guard or an extra tackle that can long snap, but they can also play on the offensive line. It's a giant waste of space to me. I would get rid of that position in a heartbeat. And that's about it. I mean, outside of the other signings, let me pull them up. Make sure we got them all covered here. So far, since the 13th, I'll back it all the way up to the 7th of February. We've brought in Traquan Smith, Matthew Betts. We let go Tracy Walker, re-signed Michael Badgley, re-signed Jalen Reeves-Maben, re-signed Shane Zielstra, Emmanuel Mosley, Zonovan Knight, Graham Glasgow, Dan Skipper, Khalil Dorsey, Scott Daly. In free agency, we brought in new players, DJ Reader, Amik Robinson, Marcus Davenport, and Carlton Davis. And we have another cornerback on the way for a meeting. Let's see here. I forget his name. I posted it earlier, but I can't remember his name right now. As Bucky's going crazy with the trade golf stuff. Look, you guys gotta you know that I floated that out there, and I floated it out there because this is a business first. It's a business, and if Brad got the right offer, do you think that let's not personally attack people, please? Do you think that he would make that decision? Do you think that if he was offered 2 firsts and a third for Goff, a first and a third this year and a first next year, do you think that he would do it? I'm not saying I want it to happen because I don't. I think that Goff is a huge part of this team and success, obviously. Let's see here. Where are my posts? I am Twitter illiterate, I swear. I can't remember this guy's name. Tavier Thomas. So he was visiting the Lions today. He played the last 2 seasons with the Texans, and he played high school football in Allen Academy in Detroit. So he is kind of a hometown guy. It is 9:30 at night, and we have not heard anything about Tavier Thomas. So that might mean that he is left without a deal, which is possible. So that's it. NFC North. You guys have now chosen the Bears, have had the best offseason so far. So now we're going to end that poll, and I'm going to put up one more. And that is now who has had the best free agency, including draft picks available. And that's going to be Lions, Bears, Vikings. We'll do all four. I was just going to do the Bears and the Lions, but including the picks, I think that it would be. I think that we could have some different answers. So now, try not to be biased. I know it's hard, but right now you have the Bears with number 1 and number 9. You have the Vikings with number 23 and number 11, and you have the Lions at number 29, and the Packers. Packers are at they got a whole bunch of picks. Packers are at 25 and then 41. The thing that sucks is that we have 30 picks between our second pick. I mean, I know everybody usually does because there's 32 teams in the NFL, but when you can have a pick and then another pick like 16 picks later, that's perfect, especially early in the draft. I love pick 45. If people are not being respectful, just so you guys know, the rules are first it's a warning, second time it's a timeout, third time is a longer timeout, and then if you come back and you do it again, you just get booted. We don't normally have problems like that, but let's just be respectful. Everyone can have their own opinion. I have terrible opinions too. Not everybody agrees. That's okay. We'll just agree to disagree. So right now, you guys think the Bears have the best option in the draft and in the offseason with the Vikings in second place. And I would say that I agree with this 1,000%. I think that the Lions have a tough road to haul this season. I really do. It doesn't mean that we can't have an excellent season. It doesn't mean that we can't have a return back to the NFC North championship crown, but I think it's going to be a lot tougher than what people are giving it credit to be. And that's why some people are so on Brad's butt right now. They're wondering why he's not doing more. And I think that it really speaks volumes right now, the things that he is doing and the things that he is trying to pull off to make this team better without spending a ton of money. So I think it makes sense. It's just, I hope he does something big in the draft. I really do. And that's move up or move back. Get rid of a little bit of future draft capital, move up, or package it, move back, stay in the top 40, add another one in the top 50, stay at 60, keep 73, keep 92, get rid of the rest of them. I could care less. Just keep one for a kicker in the end of the draft. So, all right. Does anybody want to call in tonight? You guys have anything you want to talk about? I'll open up the phone lines for, 15, 20 minutes or something. Let me get it plugged in. And then one other thing, what do you guys think about memberships? So I was thinking about doing some cool stuff with the memberships, something different. One of my ideas is doing like a Lions quarterly box. So, it's not cheap, right? The boxes aren't cheap. We could do a monthly or a quarterly or an annual box. What we have no longer have 92. What happened to 92? This is what I still don't understand. Oh, never mind. Carlton Davis. I keep forgetting. Anyway, do a monthly box where you'll get obviously some Lion stuff. Depending on what sponsors we have, you might get sponsors, products. It could be coffee, could be grill covers, could be, Lions t-shirts. It could be anything. But it'll always have something Detroit Lions in the box. And whatever you pay for a membership, you get, a large portion of that back in these boxes. It's kind of like this monthly subscriptions that you can order, the mystery boxes or whatever. That's what I'm thinking about doing for one of them. So, Lionized, is there more releases after the draft? Maybe saving for that. So, I mean, there's releases all throughout the year. Right now, it's really hard for any team to fill their roster until after the draft. But yes, sometimes there are some cuts that do happen after the draft, depending on who they draft, or players want to get traded because their team just took a number one wide receiver, and like what happened with DeAndre Swift. We drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, and Swift's like, "What are you doing? I'm out. I don't want to be here." So he gets traded. So that kind of stuff does happen. The biggest cut down day, obviously, is going to be before the 53-man roster. And I think that's where Brad Holmes is going to find some more value, more valuable players, maybe not so expensive contracts, but some good, valuable players. We got Benito Jones that way and a couple other players. Waiting for the preseason to see Hooker play. We will see. Still like Goff. I want him to get a ring. Yeah, we need Goff to get a ring. We absolutely do. And I do like Hooker. I mean, trust me, I scouted the crap out of him last year and watched a ton of his tape. I honestly feel that Hendon Hooker would have been a top 5 pick in the draft had he not torn his ACL. I believe that. 1,000%. Between him, Bryce, and Stroud, I think that they would have been the top 3. He's definitely better than a Will Levis or somebody like that. So had he not busted up his ACL, I think that he would have been up there. I mean, he was moments away from winning the Heisman until he busted up his ACL. So anyway, what do you guys think about the membership? Do you think it's a good idea to do something like that? Because there's a lot of cost involved to doing it, but we would set it up so that you get, obviously you have to sign up for a membership. You'd have to give up an address, and then we'd put you into our system. It's all protected. We don't share your information or anything. And you get, your box mailed to you. So you get some cool stuff in it. Yeah, absolutely. Somebody would have taken Hooker earlier. I believe that. Hendon Hooker is more than capable of manning this offense and even opening up the playbook. Goff's value isn't getting any higher. I think that Goff's value is the highest it's ever been in his career. I mean, I don't know, Bucky, did you watch the video that I put out today about his value as far as his contract and his stats? Here, let me run through a couple of things real quick. I don't know if you watched it or not, but let me read you a couple of things. I think this might change your mind just a little bit. Maybe not. So, Jared Goff, one of the most durable quarterbacks in the last 3 seasons. Out of the last 3 seasons, we've seen an average of 67 different quarterbacks start an NFL game. Now, there's only 32 teams, right? So you've had more than 2 quarterbacks on average start for each team. That's what it boils down to, 64, but 67 quarterbacks. Goff has only missed 3 games in the last 3 seasons. And that was week 11, 16, and 17 in 2021. He has started every single game since then. And I'm just going to read his overall average record since 2021. He is 24. He's 26 and 24. Hold on a second. Hey, this is Will with Rock On Podcast Network. Who do I got on the line?
What's up, man? It's Donovan.
Say it's Donovan?
Yep.
Hey, Donovan. Give me one quick second, okay?
Gotcha, man.
All right. So, record for Goff, he's 26 and 24, including the postseason. So he has a plus 500 win rate with the Detroit Lions. His completion percentage, 66.52. He averages 4,086 yards a season. He averages 26 TDs to 9 interceptions. And his passer rating is a 96.23. In 2023 alone, Jared Goff finished second place in yards, third place in yards per game, fourth place in TDs, ninth in TD to interception ratio. He was tied for seventh place with 12 interceptions. And that was with three other guys, but Patrick Mahomes, Trevor Lawrence, Tua, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Sam Howell all had more interceptions. He was ninth in QB rate and ninth in QBR. He was tied for 22nd lowest sacks taken. He was third in passing success rate, which means or measures how many yards do you gain on first, second, third, and inevitably fourth down to get the first down. So that's a really good measurable. Are you able to make it happen on every down? And he obviously does. He was tied for seventh with yards per attempt with Matt Stafford, and only 1 yard separated eighth place from second place. He was sixth place in adjusted yards gained per attempt, and he was tied for 10th place in yards gained per completion. And again, only 1 yard separated 10th place from third place. So when I look back at all of these stats, Goff is a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. And I'll leave it at that. And that's over 3 seasons. And he's done it at a high level for 2 seasons. He's played at Super Bowl caliber, football for 2 seasons in a row. And it's his third time in his career that he's done that. So I'm all in on Goff. I think that he's going to get paid. He's going to get paid handsomely. He deserves it. And it's not going to hurt our cap like people think. All right, let me bring in Donovan Amos. Donovan, what's up? You're back on the line, man. What's going on tonight?
Yeah, what's up? Did you see that we was bringing Thomas in for a workout?
Tavier Thomas?
Yep.
Yeah, that was earlier today. So I haven't heard anything after that. And it's, now it's almost 10 o'clock at night. And he must have gone home without a contract.
Oh, say if they sign him, that's good. I watched his tape. He can actually cover in. He can come in on third down blitzes and stuff like that. It seems like if he comes, he can be competing for a starting spot, and he's good with help.
You think that he could compete with Sutton and Carlton Davis?
Yeah, I watched the tape.
So he's 5'11", 205. Yeah, he's 5'11", 205. He actually went to Ferris State here in Michigan. He's got 6 years experience. He's 28 years old. And let me take a quick look at his stats real quick.
Yeah, he got some forced fumbles and all that.
So he played in 9 games last year, so he missed a few games. So he should be signed then. He misses games. He missed 7 games in 22. He's got only 2 pass defense, though, in the last 2 seasons. He's got 2 interceptions. What's that?
Okay.
He's got 2.
I thought you was looking at PFF.
No. I'm looking at NFL right now. So, I mean, yeah, he's probably a good depth option. I'd have to watch his tape, so I'm not going to discount your tape watching effort. I'll have to watch the tape. So that'll be homework tonight.
Yeah, I just watched the games that he played in. And he can be a good guy to come in on the safety blitzes on third down. Also, do you think we done in free agency after we sign him?
No, I don't think that. And just a little shout out to everybody. If you do want to call in, wait till this caller hangs up and then you can call in. I don't have the switchboard thing set up. I just haven't done it. So I only take one call at a time. So to answer your question about free agency, I don't think that we're ever done, Donovan. I think that Brad Holmes is always looking. I think he's always evaluating and trying to make this roster better. If there is somebody available, if there's a trade that makes sense, if someone gets cut, I think that he's always looking. And that's what a good GM does. And I think that whether it happens now or in June or August or November, Brad's looking.
Okay. Yeah, and as far as the Bears, aren't they whole team built through free agency? I don't think Ryan Poles can draft like Brad Holmes can, and that's why they got to spend so big in free agency. And I thought that was a dumb deal that they did with Keenan Allen. What they gave up a 4th round pick in, they got to take his cap hit, and Keenan Allen ain't even gonna play the full season.
Yeah, isn't he coming off an ACL?
Something like that.
Yeah, I think he is.
32-year-old. They tripping.
But you know what, though? It seems like Ryan Poles has done that ever since he's been a GM. He's just out grabbing names. He's not grabbing players that fit. He's got a bunch of misfits.
Do they even have a core?
Do they what?
Do they even have a core like we do?
No.
Like do they have their own guys?
I mean, they have some of their own guys, but I mean, a lot of them are free agents. To your point, I mean, look at who they drafted last year. They drafted Darnell Wright, offensive lineman. So they went trenches with the first pick. Gervon Dexter, who was a 5th round projected pick in December. And he was one of the guys that was on my list. And I said that he was going to creep up into the 3rd. And he jumped just into the 2nd round at 53 overall. Now, Gervon Dexter is a little bit of a project, but he's somebody that projects that he's going to be a good starter soon. So Gervon Dexter could be somebody. They also took Tyreek Stevenson last year, and Stevenson tore us up. Completely tore us up. Zach Pickens, South Carolina defensive line, obviously 3rd round. He's a little bit of a project. And then they picked up running back Rashawn Johnson. I don't remember what Rashawn Johnson did last year. I don't remember if he had a good career, year as a rookie or not.
Yeah, they. I'm not surprised. They sign free agents every year. I realize when you got somebody who can draft, you don't really got to spend that big in free agency. You just need plug-in pieces.
Right. Exactly. And I think that that's what Brad's trying to do. And that's, that's one of the things that I think that some people get confused on too is, you really can't buy everything in free agency. I think that free agency is a tool. That's the way I would look at it. It's a tool to fix things that have not been working, and you fix it kind of right away. You know what you're getting. It's like you're going to go to the store and you're going to buy if you're a DeWalt guy, you're going to buy your DeWalt drill because you know that you can trust it. You know what I mean? You're going to go to the car. Yeah. You're going to go to the car dealer. You're going to buy your Chevy 1500 because your last one you had for 20 years, you can trust it. You know that it's a good vehicle. Whether you like those vehicles or not doesn't matter. It's beside the point. The draft is kind of the same thing. You've watched this player. You've got tons of tape on this player. You know what he can do at the professional level. You use it as a tool to make your roster better. And hopefully it's a long-term deal at a good rate. Great. If not, you get them for as long as you can. You continue to draft and hope that you get a couple of good players, to be able to replace that guy at some point.
Yeah, I might be on my own on this one, but I think the Vikings can make a run. Sam Darnold was solid in the Ravens game. I always thought he was better than Brock Purdy.
He could definitely spin it like Brock Purdy. I'll tell you what. Sam Darnold's got an arm, man. He gets rattled. Every game that I've seen him in, he gets rattled and he makes crap decisions. He cannot handle the pressure. And I think that's something that we're going to, if he's their week 1 starter, I would be surprised, but I do believe that he's somebody that can do some damage in this league if he's got the right offensive line in front of him. If he doesn't have an offensive line, you can mail in the season.
Yeah.
And who knows, man? Maybe
that's
they're going to roll with Sam Darnold and hope that he craps the bed, and they just tell everybody, look, we're going after draft picks next year. Which, you know that they don't say that, but you know that they probably say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
But I think they should definitely get Thomas though.
yeah, I mean, I'll have
Just
to
to
watch.
solidify.
I'll have to watch his tape. But you know, if Brad thinks he's good enough to come in for a visit, he's definitely good enough for depth. And when you look at, you know, the players that we lost or let go, I mean, we brought back Khalil Dorsey today. So my question is, was Khalil Dorsey re-signed because Tavier Thomas, or to however you pronounce his first name, didn't check out? That's what I think happened. I don't know for sure. I didn't make any phone calls or dig into it. I had kind of a busy day today, but that's what I'm wondering if it happened, because I was surprised that the Khalil Dorsey thing happened. I mean, I thought that he was going to hit free agency and then potentially come back on a cheap deal after free agency. And that's exactly what happened. But when Thomas was reported to come in, it was like, okay. And then Dorsey got re-signed. So he may already be at home without a deal, man. Might already be past the point now, you know?
Yeah, because if they take Thomas, they can draft a cornerback in like the early 100s. They can take one, and probably if they trade, they can probably take one in the 4th round or take one in the late 3rd round. But they got to trade pick 29. But yeah, I watched some film on Reader yesterday. That dude requires the double team. So we definitely, if he on the field, we're gonna be eating.
Yeah, I think that too. I think that as long as he's on the field, we have a chance. And you know, I did like the statement that Reader said. He said, not word for word, but he said, you know, when Hutch is on, I want to be his biggest cheerleader. When Hutch is off, I want to get him back on. And I thought that was just a great thing to say. Like, you know, he's all about the team. He's all about everybody else doing well. And those are the kinds of guys you want on your team. And even though I was a little bit low on Reader because of the injury history, he's still a great player when he's on the field.
Yeah. You still think it make a whole lot of sense to bring Reynolds back on a $6 million deal?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we need that security blanket. We need somebody that understands Jared Goff and understands this offense. And he's been pretty darn good, man. I forgive him for his drops. Like, that's not what lost that game. You know, we were out of that game because our defense couldn't stop anybody. And that's what happened. But you know, you had 4 or 5 things go wrong in that game that cost us that game. So you could pin it on everybody, and that means you're going to have to get rid of Kendall Vildor. Well, that's been done. You're going to have to get rid of Jahmyr Gibbs because he fumbled, and then they scored a touchdown. You'll have to get rid of Reynolds because he fumbled, and they scored, I think, a field goal off of that. Who else? Somebody else missed a big tackle.
Wait, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Reynolds drop a pass in the Rams game too?
He had 4 drops.
He was like at the end.
He had 4 drops the entire season. So I think that he was only credited with 1 drop in the final game, and there might have been 1 in the Rams game, but I kind of look at things objectively a little bit. Like you've got to look at the situation too. Like, you know, how is the ball wobbling? Because sometimes Jared Goff does throw a wobbly ball when he's under pressure. And if you throw a wobbly ball, man, it's pretty tough to catch at times. And
yeah,
I'd have to go back and look at the tape just to look and see what really happened, you know?
I just feel like his production.
So those stream,
I think we can do better at that position.
Yeah, I think we can too. But to Streams Only's point, you know, Jameson Williams also dropped a TD. You know,
but Jameson really, this dude, bro, Josh Reynolds has been playing since what, 2017?
Yeah, right around there, same year as Goff, I think.
I think he should be much more productive than what he is.
Well, he's always been relegated to a number 2 spot. So he's always been a number 2 or a number 3.
I didn't think he thought he was more like a wide. I thought those targets could have been spread out.
No, he's always played he's always played second fiddle. I mean, when he was with the Rams, Cooper Kupp kind of was the guy. Then obviously with the Lions, obviously DJ Chark was the deep threat, and then Amon-Ra turned on the Jets, and so he quickly became the third option.
On that team, when we had DJ Chark, he was not no. I don't think he was no wide receiver 2/3.
Who?
You got some real solid guys in there.
Who?
Josh Reynolds.
You don't think that he was a 3?
No. Maybe a 3.
So in the last 2 seasons, he put up 479 yards in 2022. He put up 608 yards in 2023. His best season was with the Rams in 2020. He put up 618 yards. So he's always done that. Like last year was his second best season. The year before that was his third best season ever as a player. And he was with the Titans for 1 year in 2021. He was with the Lions in 2021, for what, the, second half of the season or something like that.
I mean, I just look at it like this. We're going to replace him anyway.
Yeah, we're going to have to. But, I mean, $6 million is nothing for a decent wide receiver. I just think that.
I feel like that's a little steep, bro.
I think that we're going to find somebody. I think that we'll find somebody in the draft. I do.
Yeah, I think we should bring Kendall Vilder back too.
No way.
Kendall Vilder, he did force the fumble. He did force that touchback. Kendall Vilder can actually cover.
His passer rating against was like 147. And like the max passer rating against, I think, is 153.
I think his skills. He got skills. Remember, he forced the touchback on CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought that he had, I thought that he had glimpses or moments or flashes, that he could play the game. I wasn't against Kendall, coming back this season as long as we found a number 1 and it had a number 2 and he's depth. Like I'm good with Kendall as the depth piece. But I think that I think he's gone. I think that after what happened in the championship game and how the fans vilified him, I don't think that they're going to want, I don't think they're going to want that trouble, And to whoever just called, whenever Donovan gets off the phone, you guys can call back. We do one at a time here.
Kendall Vilder at 26. It seemed like you could sign him on a cheap deal and you can actually develop Vilder. I feel like that's a great depth piece too. I feel like you can work on his ball catching skills. He already got good coverage for his size. I think that's a solid piece.
Yeah, I'm not against it. I'm not against Kendall Vilder coming back on a cheap deal, but I think we brought back Dorsey today, and that kind of edged him out. So we have Dorsey. So how many guys we have depth-wise now for cornerbacks? We have Sutton, Davis, Robertson, Dorsey, that's 4. Gilmore, that's 5. You'll carry 6 on the roster. So that means you'll probably grab.
Hold on. I think, did Kendall Vilder sign with the Titans?
I don't know.
He said it media availability, Tennessee Titans. I think he left.
Yep, 6 hours ago, signed with the Titans.
Wow, that's crazy.
So it looks like you're not getting your wish now. He's gone.
Man. All right, I'm gonna let you get to the next call, bro.
All right, Donovan, you have a good night, man.
Good content.
All right, so Donovan wanted to kill Kendall Vilder, but he just got wrapped up 6 hours ago. And whoever just called, you can go ahead and call back now if you'd like. The number, I'll put it back into the screen. Oh, I got the caller already. All right, this is Will with Rocktown Detroit Lions. Who do I got?
Jared.
Jared?
Yeah.
Hey, Jared, how you doing, man?
Good. Well, just I know you probably don't hear it, but you putting a lot of time. I know it's me as a Lions fan. I'm sure I speak for a lot of other people. We appreciate that and all your videos and going to the combine. And I watch Derek too, so you guys are a perfect match. So I just want to put that out there first.
I appreciate it, man. It is a lot of work. I never thought that I'd be here this quickly, but we'll keep plugging away and keep growing so we can make it even better, man. It's fun. You guys make it the best part of it. So
yeah, I know sometimes you got to reel Derek in too. He gets fired up. So I know that's a full-time job too. So
I can't reel Derek in, man. He's got freedom. He's got freedom to do whatever he wants, man. He's on his own. So Derek, like Derek says, he's an acquired taste. I think that's with everything though. It's like everybody has different opinions or different thoughts or whatever, and maybe not everybody agrees or whatever it is, but he's not wrong.
Yeah, I was feeling a lot like Derek, honestly. We had the sixth most cap space coming into free agency, and we're linked in the media to all these big needle movers. L'Jarius Sneed and Khalil Mack and Daniil Hunter. All these guys, and it was just so underwhelming to not be able to sign any of them. Now, did we increase our secondary? Absolutely. I mean, Kendall Vildor was our number 2 cornerback, and he was on the couch in the middle of the season. And arguably, I really think that he costed us our chance at the Super Bowl. Yeah. And it's significantly improved our cornerbacks. But in the DJ Reader signing is awesome. But, we already had a number 2 run defense last year. So, I mean, it wasn't really a big area of need. Now, will he help? Yeah, but that third and long, he's not going to be on the field. I mean, he's a nose tackle that's over 300 pounds. So we still need a defensive end. I mean, Marcus Davenport's just been very unreliable with health, and these cornerbacks that we got aren't going to be able to cover for 15 seconds. So, or these running quarterbacks that torched us last year. So I think we still need to address, another defensive end. James Houston's coming off an injury too, so you just don't know. And safety too. I mean, Iffy played great in a short span, but you don't know what you're going to get. I mean, he was hurt the previous 2 years too. We know what he's capable of, and it's certainly promising. But Justin Simmons is still out there. I mean, the guy has made several Pro Bowls, playmaker, can hit. I don't think C.J. Gardner-Johnson was doing a lot of tackling. He's doing a lot more talking than tackling. Yeah. And I think we need another big receiver too. I mean, Josh Reynolds, it'd be nice to get Josh back. He's got familiarity with our offense, and he's a good seasoned vet. Gets along good with Jared. But we need a big body receiver. St. Brown, gets moved all around, but I think we just need that big body.
So Jared, let me pose this to you. So by having what I thought was going to happen this year, now that we have added the pieces that we've added, is you've got DJ Reader, Aleem McNeil, and Aiden Hutchinson on the line. I don't care who the fourth guy is. If it's Pascal, if it's Kaminsky, if it's James Houston, whoever it is, I don't care who it is. It could be Davenport. Let's just say it's Davenport. So now you've got an entire offensive line that is going to have to block 4 guys, and it's going to take at least 5 guys to block them. I think that we're going to see Aaron Glenn evolve again this year by utilizing the DB blitz more often, but now the linebacker blitz, because we did not have an extra run stuffer that could open up a lane for the linebackers. So I don't think that we're going to need the defensive line to necessarily get to the quarterback, just be the path to the quarterback. So that 3rd and long you were talking about, imagine now DJ Reader is being taken up by a guard and a center, and then you've got a Lee McNeil between the other guard and the tackle and Aiden Hutchinson. You're going to have a spot between that gap between the guard and the tackle on the left side of the defense and Aiden Hutchinson, where Jack Campbell is going to be able to knife through it. I think that's what we're going to see more of, is more of the interior pass rush and not the wide 9 stuff, not the outside pass rush as our bread and butter, because it just wasn't working. We weren't getting to them.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what AG does. I'm skeptical just because of how big Reader is.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be in there on 1st and 2nd down. He's going to be stuffing that run, and he's going to help make it 3rd and long. But I just don't think he's going to be out there on 3rd and long to help push that pocket, just because he's primarily a run stuffer, and he's going to be gassed. He's over 300 pounds. He might be like Snacks Harrison.
Oh yeah, good old Snacks.
Snacks wasn't really out there on 3rd down, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what AG does. I mean, honestly, I don't think it could get much worse. So,
well, I hope we don't go backwards in the run stopping game. I hope that we continue to be a powerhouse there, because that's what saved us last year in a lot of games.
Yeah, and our linebackers are very promising, and you could go with any of those guys. I really like Malcolm Rodriguez. I mean, I wish I know he's primarily special teams and he tried around at fullback, but I mean, that guy flies around the field. I mean, he's fast, he hits hard. But everybody in that linebacker room is fully capable, and of course they help with the run a lot too. So it'll be interesting. I just want another defensive end, and our last hope, I was like, come on, Khalil Mack. And then he restructures that deal with LA. So I was like, darn it.
Yeah.
Because I don't really think there's anybody else out there. Chase Young, we've talked about that. He's just got I think he's got a motivation issue, or, the motor wouldn't really fit our culture personally, which I tend to agree with. But next trade deadline too, we'll see what happens. I was really hoping, we all knew we needed a pass rush or a cornerback last trade deadline, and we were all hoping for something. And what do we get? Donovan Peoples-Jones for a 6th-round pick, and he didn't really make much of an impact at all. So
yeah,
and we saw the 49ers get better. A lot of our rivals, which is kind of what we're seeing now. It's crazy to see that how much money the Eagles always spend every offseason. But I looked at it. If you look at Spot Track, Jalen Hurts' cap hit is only $13 million. I mean, his salary is like $51 million a year, but they do a lot of restructures, and I don't know why we don't do more of that. Honestly, Taylor Decker's cap hits like $19 million, and Goff's is like 30. We could have done a lot with some extra money, and this window is small. So,
well, the thing about Goff is, the thing about Goff is, like, I'm not worried about his contract so much, because he's playing top 3 in the NFL by almost every stat, and he's getting paid like a top 15 right now. The Lions don't have to do anything. They can make him go into his last season making $32.3 million cap hit, and it is what it is. They could do that, but I would say that we would probably lose him next offseason if he has another incredible year. His agent will not take less than probably $50 some odd million a year if he goes through another season without an extension. I don't think Goff would ever sit on us. I don't think that he would ever let the team down, but they're going to get that deal done. I think it's going to take, from what I understand, until just after the draft or just before the draft. They're going to want to see what they can do in the draft before they get this extensions or all the extensions wrapped up, from what I understand.
Yeah, I agree. They keep increasing the salary cap, so I mean, that number is going to keep going up. And I'm just some of these fans that think we can't make any big high price moves because we have to extend, Hutchinson in 2 years. It's like, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. The salary cap's going to keep going up.
Yep.
And you still have the franchise tag too. I mean, paying St. Brown 27, 30 million is a lot, but people got to realize too, we have him on a very affordable contract. We also have the franchise tag in our back pocket, which was 21 million this year for a receiver.
Yeah.
So even if we had to franchise tag him, if we can't come to a deal and we have to franchise tag him, we can still get him for 21 million a year, which would be less than less than the 27 that it's reported that he was going to come to.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought up like Aiden Hutchinson in that, because he's only in year 3. And the way that the NFL rules work is a rookie cannot do anything with his contract until after 3 full seasons if you're a first round pick. So you have to play 3 full seasons, and then you can start to enter into negotiations for your 4th season contract and beyond. So Aiden Hutchinson won't get done until at a minimum of next year. But I would say that he's good. He's not elite yet. He's good, but elite. I need to see a better pass rush win rate to get some, elite grades for Aiden. I do believe that he'll be sticking around, but you really don't have to pay him for 2 more seasons at least. This is be his 3rd season.
Yeah.
Next year is his 4th season. You're right. In his 5th season, you could franchise him. It's going to cost you about $30 million for 1 season, but it's probably worth it. And the way that I'm seeing Brad Holmes right now lining up this team, I mean, he just grabbed us, 4 guys that we're set now every single year as a safety. We've got a guy entering his 4th, a guy entering his 3rd, a guy entering his 2nd season, and he'll probably draft a rookie this year. And I don't know if you've ever heard me talk about roster roulette, but that is exactly what roster roulette is. You keep building out your core and your foundation so that you can take the high price guy every 2 or 3 years to keep your cap low and keep your core built. So we'll see what happens, man. We'll see.
My last point, I really like, when I was talking about being optimistic when this first started, I really like what the Houston Texans have done. They're an up-and-coming team that turned it around just like us last year. And what did they do? I mean, they have Will Anderson, and they paired him with Daniel Hunter.
Yeah.
That was exactly kind of what I wanted. I'm like, man, that D-line is going to be ferocious, and it's going to make it easier on Will Anderson. And I just, Hutch, we've been preaching pass rush for a couple of years now. I'm sure Hutch is frustrated too, because man, he flies around, and the guys we had last year were not doing him any favors. Nobody else was helping him, and it's going to get old after a while for him. I'm sure he gets discouraged when he's so close to getting a sack, but nobody on the other side, Charles Harris or the Aquara family isn't helping him out. Because we had like the whole Aquara family on our roster, and they didn't do anything.
Right. Yeah. No. The thing is
so
Hutchinson sometimes he flies around too much. Like he just needs to sit in his zone sometimes. He gets too wide and too deep at times that, there was a couple of games last year that he really stayed home, and those were his best games of the whole season. He wasn't flying behind the quarterback and, letting the quarterback get in front of him. He was staying parallel to him or in front of him. And that's the Hutch that I like to see when he's playing disciplined, the disciplined football.
Yeah, it'll just be interesting. The games that we lost last year, it's when our offense made mistakes. And, our offense was just so dominant to where, Goff had like a 3 interception game, and our defense could just not recover from it. And same thing in the NFC Championship game where we fumble and the defense just could not swing that momentum back because they just were getting dominated.
Mm-hmm.
So we just need a defense to hold their own somewhat because the offense is basically the same other than Reynolds and our left guard. And I'm hoping maybe for a left guard in the draft. So we'll see. I won't take up too much more of your time. I appreciate the call. And,
well, no, I appreciate your call, man. And call in anytime you want. Appreciate you calling, Jared.
I appreciate it, Will.
All right. Take care, man. So I see your comment in there, Streams. I want to make sure that we understand one thing about the contracts. I want to point this out. So we talking about adding Danielle Hunter to the Texans, and the point was made, well, you've got a quarterback on a rookie deal or Will Anderson on a rookie deal or whatever it is. So the Texans, let's see, the Texans opening they had $70 million in free agency. So they're top 5 in the league with cap space. They had 70 million. The Lions were supposed to have 70 million. And then they had guys that made the Pro Bowl. And that cost them over $12 million this year out of the cap because they had to pay the bonuses to Aiden Hutchinson and Sam Laporta. So $12 million came off the cap. So now you've got 58 million. And that's about where we ended up, like 50 million-ish, somewhere in that range. Okay. The Texans had 70. We would have had darn near the same amount of money. The difference with the Texans is they may not have, the big 30, 40, $50 million contracts, but they have multiple double-digit contracts with other positions. Laramie Tunsil, he's making 25 million. Titus Howard's making 19 million. CJ Stroud is making just south of 10 million. Dalton Schultz is making 12. Shaq Mason's making 12. Will Anderson's making 9. Derek Stingley from last year's making 9. Aziz El Shair is making 11.5. Danico Autry, who they just added, is making 10. So they spent 10 on Danico. They spent 25 on Danielle Hunter. That's 35. Joe Mixon, that they just added, is making 10. So that's 45 million a year. So I think you know where I'm going with this. They have a lot more contracts in that second tier range. They have a lot of second tier, dollar-wise contracts. Whereas the Lions don't. We don't have a ton of second tier contracts like that. Or at least we didn't until we started signing some guys this week. So when you look at the Lions and you look at, our contracts, and I don't know why they do this on Spotrac. It's like one team looks totally different from the next team. That makes no sense to me. But you got Jared Goff that makes 32 million. Taylor Decker makes 19. Carlton Davis, who we just added, makes 14.3. He's the third highest paid player on the team. Frank Ragnow makes 12.8. Cameron Sutton makes 12.6. Aiden Hutchinson makes 9.7. And Penei Sewell makes 7.7. So it's not like these guys are starving. They're former first-round picks. Alex Anzalone's making 7.5. David Montgomery is 6.8. So there's a big difference here. We have a lot of guys that are below, way below 10 million. We only have 5 contracts, 12 million and up. 5. As where the Texans have way more. So it's not so much that, they have guys on rookie deals. It's that they have a lot of guys on mid-tier money deals. And I think it's valid that you can still go out and sign whoever you want. If you were to sign Jared Goff right now to a 4-year extension, you could take that 32.3 and probably make it $20 million all day. You could make it less than that, depending on how big of a signing bonus you give him. If you give him a $60 million signing bonus, which is, not out of the question, and you spread it out over 5 seasons, which is the max, that's $12 million. If you gave him a a $2 million or $4 million salary. I don't know what the minimum vet salary is for a quarterback of his age. But let's just say it's $4 million. Now he's making 16, and you give him another, type of bonus. You could have him on this roster for less than $20 million this year. Next year it goes up. The next year it goes up. The next year it goes up. But you're also adding $25 million next year on the salary cap or more. The next year after that, probably $35 million or more. The next year after that, $40 million or more. So it just keeps going up, and it balances out the contracts that you're adding. And again, that's that whole roster roulette. You are putting guys in as the salary cap allows you to. You average it, you weigh it against what you have on the roster now and where you're going to be in a few seasons and where the cap is going to be in a few seasons. The biggest number to look at on any of these sites is the percentage, the cap percentage. Everything about these teams and what they do not care about the dollar amount at all. It does not matter. I mean, they do to a point. It's the percentage. If they'll say, okay, our quarterback room is worth 16% a year. Our wide receiver room is worth 16% a year. Our defensive line is worth 16% a year. Our offensive line is worth 20% a year. Whatever the percentage is, then they have to add contracts and add guys to fit that under the top 51. That's the number to look at. I mean, if we really wanted to get granular with this, we really could. We could spend hours talking about it. I'm trying to get PFF Brad on here. I'm trying to get him on the show. I've already sent their people a message so that we can talk about this, because he also writes for OTC. And I want to get him to explain a lot of this stuff to everybody, and you guys can hear it, from somebody other than me, that maybe has a little bit more credibility, obviously a lot more credibility, and a lot more experience, with the contracts and explaining how everything works. I'm no dummy, but there's a lot to learn, and that's why I'm forever a sponge, because I like to learn and want to be able to give you guys better information too. So, all right, what's next? It's 10:20. I'm going to cancel the phone lines, and we'll take another 5-10 minutes of questions, statements. What do you guys think about the poll question here? So who has the best free agency, including draft picks available? Bears are number 1. Lions are number 2. Vikings number 3. Packers, number 4. And I guess I would agree with that. I think that the Bears, obviously at pick 1 and 9, and what they just did in free agency, they're going to be dangerous. They can back out of 9. They can add another first round pick next year with that number 9 pick. They could probably back up to pick 15, pick 18, pick 20, and grab another first rounder next year and have 2 firsts again. That's what I would have loved to have seen happen with our picks. More first round picks being added. And I felt like we just kind of squandered some of our picks at points. Like some of the deals we've done over the last couple of years. We ended up with great players. Don't get me wrong. We ended up with great players. But I think we fell short on stacking our draft capital. I really do. That's probably my only real gripe with Brad Holmes, is I feel like we kind of squandered a little bit of our draft capital for no good reason. I felt like we gave way too much to move up to take Broderick Martin. Like that was an asinine deal to me. Broderick may work out, and that's great. And if he does work out, then the picks don't matter at all. But there was nobody else available. You could go through every pick after pick 96. There wasn't anybody else that was a defensive tackle or, a defensive end that really would have changed this team. Maybe a different position there would have been. None pop in my head right now. I went through the exercise a couple of weeks ago. Mike Dana, please sign him. I do like Mike Dana. I think that he could be a valuable piece, but I think our defensive line room Yeah, let me pull up the roster. Defensive line right now is a couple players away, I think. We've got Ali McNeil, Levi Onwuzurike, Broderick Martin, Chris Smith, and DJ Reader. So we've got 5 defensive tackles. And last year we came in our 53, I believe, with 12. I think we had 12 defensive tackles, defensive ends combined. So great. Now I'm going to have to go back and look. All right, 53-man roster as of August 29 at around noon. We had 6 linebackers, 11 defensive backs, and 11 defensive linemen. So not 12, 11. So if we had 11, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defensive tackles. And we have 5 defensive ends right now. So I would say that we're probably in the market to grab 2 more and have good camp competition. You don't know what's going to happen with Matthew Betts, but between Aiden Hutchinson, John Kaminsky, Josh Paschal, and Marcus Davenport, those 4 are a lock. On the defensive tackle side, you have Ali McNeil, Levi Onwuzurike, Broderick Martin, and DJ Reader. Those 4 guys are a lock. I would say that Chris Smith and Matthew Betts are camp competition, and you're probably going to need 1 more of each, 1 more DT, 1 more defensive end to go to camp with, and they battle it out. May the best man win. And then you're going to have your defensive front. I mean, right now, that's not a bad defensive line. Ali McNeil and DJ Reader are going to be playing the majority of the snaps. Aiden Hutchinson, Josh Paschal, John Kaminsky, they're going to be playing, and Marcus Davenport. I mean, all 4 of those guys, they're going to be in a rotational role on the right side, and Aiden Hutchinson's probably going to play 90% of the snaps on the left side. I would say this. I want to see Aiden play less. And I know that sounds stupid, but I want to see him play less. I want him to have fresher legs in the 4th quarter. When you look at cornerback, speaking in terms of people we can add, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 7 right now. Stephen Gilmore, Craig James. I don't know why some of these guys are listed as corners. Like Ifeatu is a safety. So cornerback, we have Carlton Davis, Cam Sutton. Those are 1 and 2. Amik Robertson at 3. Emmanuel Mosley, when he's healthy, at 4. And Craig James and Stephen Gilmore at 5 and 6. Craig James, it's a camp body right now. It's depth signing. Stephen Gilmore, same thing. He's got to earn his way onto this team. So I would say right now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You probably have room for 1 more cornerback, and that could be through the draft and free agency. And they're probably going to add another 1 or 2 or 3 before camp. Safeties. Remember last year we only had 11 combined. We got Kirby, Brian, Brandon, and Ifeatu Malafanu. We got 4. So we need 2 more. And only 1 of them will make the team. So we're getting there. I mean, we're almost there. Our defense is almost set. Believe it or not. Which leaves Brad what? Big time options. Streams only. What's up? You said, hey, Will, what's up? What about comp picks? We don't have any comp picks. We don't get any this year. We might get one next year for Jonah Jackson. That's it. I don't think that anybody else that we've lost and based on their playing time and, any of that mumbo jumbo, however they figure it out, is going to net us any comp picks. And that's because of the way that Brad drafts and the way that, Brad brings in free agents. We're not going to get a lot of comp picks. We just won't. I think the best way we're going to get comp picks is when Aaron Glenn gets a head coaching position. You get 2 third-round picks, one this year and one the next year. As you bring guys up through the ranks. I mean, that's why the 49ers have so many draft picks. They get a ton of comps. Let's see here. Oh, I forgot about James Houston. Why was he not listed? I keep forgetting about James, man. I forgot him on my Twitter too. I forgot to list him, and I don't know why. But he's not even listed on this. That's odd. Maybe he's listed as a linebacker, which he is a linebacker. He's listed as an outside linebacker. And that's the funny thing about, our defense, right? I mean, it's just weird. You're in a 4-3 hybrid, but we operate like a 3-4 with the way that we have staff, or the way that we have, players. Like all these outside linebackers, you're in a 4-3, so you need a middle, a Will, and a Sam. We have too many hybrids. I think we need more guys that are, dedicated to their craft instead of all of these hybrids. And I know Brad likes versatility, but I think versatility is great on the offensive line. I think that's about where it's the best, is the offensive line. So, all right. I think that's it for tonight. And Warren King says DJ Reader may cancel out Jackson. I'm not sure what that means, buddy. D13 says, Will, how do you feel about signing Adam Butler? Also, aren't we getting comp picks for Jonah and CJGJ? So Jonah potentially, but that'll be next year, not this year. Yeah, comp picks were already released before free agency, if I remember correctly. CJ Gardner didn't play enough. So he was, a high value free agent, but he only played in a handful of games. So he didn't have enough playing time, enough snaps to really equate. Like if we got a very late round comp pick for CJ Gardner, I would be surprised. We could potentially get a 3rd round for Jonah. Good point there. DJ Reed, I got you. You talking about Jonah. So yeah, DJ Reed, that's another good point. Warren King brings up a good point. You bring in a free agent, you lose a free agent, they cancel each other out. So DJ Reader could cancel Jonah Jackson. There's a whole system to it. It's a scale, that it's like a mathematical scale almost. I'll have to find it. We'll do it in the next show we do. I'll find it and try to learn it real quick. Yeah, Bucky. I mean, I'll probably go to the draft. I've always planned on going. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like this show might change my mind. Like I don't know if I cannot not do the draft. You know what I mean? Like that was a big show for us last year, and it's going to be even bigger this year. So, though that's the decision I'm weighing against, and I could do it. If I can get a really close parking lot, I can set up my truck. It's a mobile podcast unit now, or will be before the draft. Now that I got it back, I just got to finish a few things on it. And that's why I started building that truck out, to make it a mobile podcast unit. We can set everything up and have all the power we need and lights and everything else. And away we go. There was another question. Someone was just asking about offensive line depth. Let's see, where was it? U of M Dad says, what do you see on O-line depth? So for O-line, we have Colby Sorsdahl, Connor Galvin, Michael Neese, and Dan Skipper. Those are all depth pieces at tackle. We have 4. And then you obviously have Taylor Decker as your left tackle, Penei Sewell as your right tackle, Graham Glasgow as your right guard. So that's 7. And then you have Netanyahu Muti and Matt Farniak as the other guards. So you've got 9 guys on the roster right now, of which 1, 2, 3. You got 3 guards. This thing is not keeping everything in order here. You got 3 guards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 6 tackles. So that's 9, right? And then you got Ragnall. So that's 10. So I would say that we need to find a hybrid guard center. Has to be guard center. I know we have Graham that can fill in, but I still think you grab a guard center, someone that can come in and play guard, left guard day one. They can slide over to play center. And I don't know the transition. Like, does right guard play better at center than left guard? Like, I don't know if it matters. And I don't like our O-line depth at all. I mean, Colby played terrible last year. He maybe he'll make a big jump this year. Abel Sika, so that's another one. He's not on this list, I don't think. He's not. And he was just tendered. So we have 11 and 7 of them are tackles. And I don't like any of them. Colby is about the only one I would keep just because he's young. Obviously, Skipper is the other one I would keep because he knows what he's doing. So I'd say that we need a tackle and we need a guard center hybrid. I do like Jackson Powers Johnson. Obviously, we would have to trade up big time. Big time. And there's a couple of guys that'll be available at 29. So we don't necessarily have to move, but I think that it would be beneficial for Brad to move back and add picks. It's what we've been talking about tonight is every other team is adding picks. I know you want your guy maybe at 29, but can you get him at 33? Can you get him at 35? Can you get him at 37? Is there another guy that you could potentially take? Back up to 37, add us another second round pick. And then grab, double down. That's what I would do. But we'll see. Brad's the man. He's definitely a good drafter. We'll let him keep drafting. But you better believe you're going to hear all about my draft the night before and the night of. And we'll see what happens. The biggest thing is what happens during the season. Do the players that I projected as good fits become good players for another team? Good players for our team? And where do they end up in a couple of seasons down the road? Did we get it right? Because you really can't grade it until a couple years later, a couple seasons later. So, all right, look, you guys have been great. I know it was a light show tonight. It is Friday night. I hope you guys are enjoying your Friday night. Appreciate Tracy tonight for helping mod. Any issues? Looks like it was a pretty light night. Biggest thing is that everyone just treats everybody with respect. And the other biggest thing is, if you guys want all of your sports in one place, where do you go? Sports Spider, sportspider.com. Check them out. Amazing website. Get all of your sports in one place. Make your own page. Stay up to date on all of this news and enjoy it. It's a wonderful website. Great partner of our podcast. Really appreciate them and appreciate all you guys. You guys are the best sponsors and participators of this podcast and everything else that we do here at Rocked On Podcast Network, home of the Rocked On Detroit Lions podcast. And we're going to see you guys next time. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.